cat in front of the keyboard. What's happening? Kyle Postwood, aka Malker here at Big Kitty Games. Cat on the mouse pad. I wanted to apologize for yesterday, first and foremost. Went out to, well, I didn't go out, but had lunch yesterday and ended up getting a migraine. Said I'd be back in an hour, and I was not. I was talking to KZ as me in chat. I felt bad about that all day yesterday. I hope he shows up today so I can apologize. But anyway, back to what we were working on. Migraines are weird. I'm still a little fuzzy from it. But that's how the cookie crumbles. So we're working on the Enchanting UI, and I did get a little bit in. Let's actually start it up, see what it looks like. Got rid of the inventory recipe button switch when we got our little to-do list that we built yesterday. So we want to update the enchanting interface, which I think is more or less done. That's not, oh well, no, I need to, can't leave that stuff open like that. That would be the main UI. Just need to close this down and open the loading UI back up. Cats are doing their usual early morning crazy runaround. Beep John, hey. Hey. You don't need to do that. Stop it. Oh, something still errored. Let's see. What do we got? Enchanting details UI setup. I deleted some stuff, so that makes fine sense. Let's see. I thought that I got rid of everything. Table title, profession, icon title, table title, icon title, slot. This is gone, I believe. I could have looked at the line 90. That was it. Recompile. Once this is working, we're going to want to change so that it's not. PP John, is it that soap that you don't like? What's the deal? Stop trying to bury stuff. What are you doing? What are you doing? Is it this you don't like? Keeps trying to bury something on my table. Maybe I need to wash my placemats or something. Knocks everything off onto the floor. So anyway, they'll calm down in 10 minutes. Let's put our fancy goggles on. Okay, we've got an enchanting table here. So this is all that we should be looking for. It is actually starting with the inventory open. We need it to always just be recipe. So So it looked like the whole inventory was open there. Let's see. We turned off some things here. Enchant details UI, item added. I think we still need to make sure that some of these windows are opening and closing properly. Turn on recipe UI, there we go. The recipe, oh, it does have a selected recipe. Okay, so let's do recipe selected. Is that not what it was? Recipe click. And we'll do the current selected recipe. So if that's null, it should just... No, that's not what you want. Enchants. Selected recipe is enchants. You want an integer. Alright. Just try and get this to start up properly first. And then, like I say, we'll do... so it's not actually enchanting the items themselves, but generating a socket of some sort. Nope, that's still not what we're looking for. Recipe click. But we're also calling setup. Let's see. One of these is probably initiating. Reset. Null, null. Clear, clear, that's fine. On enable. Recipe selected. Change level, change tier, change rank, enchant clicked. How's that different? Oh, that's the actual action button. So it's not in here, it's over here. Main UI, inventory UI, set active true. Categories, set active false. Recipes, set active false. That's not what we want. Want to turn all of that on. And we don't want inventory UI being turned on anywhere else anymore. Upgrades will turn it on, apparently. So we'll have to peek at that. Other than that, I think we're fine now. Check it out. That's interesting, it's still opening the main UI. This is really all we need. But then when we click upgrades, we do want it to go here. If we click back, okay, so we still need to fix that, and the actual link here is incorrect. This is probably passing through the main UI. Enchanting UI link. Don't want you to do that. We could just turn it off again, but just want to turn this on. That should stop that. And then when we click upgrade, we're turning it on again and doing all of this. So when we click back, which is facility upgrade UI, if we're on the enchanting table, we want to turn this back on, and we want to, let's see, turn the inventory off. It's the main UI dot toggle tab UI. Should work. Didn't actually look underneath that. Turn enchanting UI back on. Okay, good. Game object set active false. Good. What is this? Peep Jam, what's the matter? Didn't give me the mouse. That's interesting. This is some dirty programming in the sense that there are a variety of smarter ways to be doing this now that I'm smarter than I was when I wrote this stuff, but going through and rewriting everything would also be very time consuming. So basically here in player input, and it actually might be I think it's this dealy here. Or is it the player camera? This is basically what I'm looking for. No, it's not lock the cursor. I think it is player camera. What's the matter, pee-pee? Or is it player mover? There we go. So we don't have... I'm a little confused why this used to work. We used to go through the main UI when we try to interact, which is actually down here. Try to interact, we churn the tab UI on, and then we tell the enchanted table to link itself up. But then when we click recipes, we're actually just churning those off rather than toggling them, and then closing the entire UI when we escape. So maybe that's what we want to do, actually. Rather than bounce around in a bunch of different scripts. So this is, yeah. We'll put this back to how it was. So it does turn the UI on, which calls the mouse activity stuff. And then we're actually going to churn it off immediately, as well as and that should be enough, actually. And then when we click back again to return to the UI via the facility upgrade UI, we're going to turn it on again, or we're going to toggle tab UI and then go back into the... Well, that's going to turn it on again. We better just give it a try. I think since it's already... No, yeah, because it would be active at this point. So this looks fine. If we go to upgrades, it opens this up, and then if we go back, it does go back, but it doesn't open everything we need back up. I'd honestly rather go through the same method again to do the link here. Facility, table. Does that work? This is a facility, and it's looking for a facility that should engage the same logic. What are you kitties doing? One of them has crawled under the rug. The other one is attacking the rug. Well, that's not what we wanted. Should probably be doing the actual interact bit here. Which would be right here. So let's actually do player input. Interact with facility, and we're going to do client dot enchanting UI, was it? Linked enchanting table dot net ID. That's the network identity, and that will actually pass through the same chain of logic that we get when we hit F. We do the original interact. That's not quite what I wanted to do, though, is it? I would actually prefer to be using this guy. There we go. All right, one more try. I think this will work as intended. So we're going to want to not a whole lot of change for the code, I think. Just going to be creating an item, so we're going to need new icons. And then making the Socketable interface, that's going to be a little bit different. That'll be the hard part. Okay, so that looks fine. And click on a recipe, that's not working. Okay. So we're done with you, we're done with you, we're done with you. Enchanting UI. Let's see. Refresh recipes. Spawning the buttons. Telling the buttons that they belong to this recipe. The button will then, it's an enchanting button. If it's clicked, it'll call the button click, sending its code in, which will be a recipe. So we'll get recipe click. That will set the, well, that's silly, but sure. It'll cast it, send it to details UI, recipe selected, and here we would expect to see does not contain known enchants will return. Set the current enchant. Grab the enchant template. Let's go ahead and put some debugs in here. See if there's any more returns. Load the stats, get list, ingredients, set requirements. We made it to 1. Did not make it to 2, so we're not finding the template for this guy. No, it's not even getting here. If it's null, or if we're not in the known enchants, yeah. There's also default enchants. So we've now got to check if it's either here, and it's not within default enchants either. And this is actually going to be a quicker. Again, this is, it's a fraction of a nanosecond improvement, but just feels good to get those things in the better order if you know that there is one. So that should work better now. We changed this so that default enchants are kept separate from known enchants, so that we can change what is known by default in the event of upgrades. It used to pile everything into the known enchants, and then once it was in there, there was no good way to get rid of it without a complete reset, which we did have to force, or will be forcing with this patch, that is. So now we've got that. We should be able to go up to 11. Exception has occurred. It's probably the same thing. It's looking for known recipes. So let's take a peek at that, and I think that will be our last bit of change we need here. So we can't just go straight to known enchants. Honestly, it would be nice to get a method going for get known recipe, like get recipe, get known enchants. There we go, get known recipe level. I'd also like to have a get known enchant level. like so. So now I can use that instead of trying to look directly into here. So I'm actually going to declare it int known level equals, do we have a client? I don't think we do. Client dot player crafting dot get enchant level, and we want to look at the current enchant. And then this will be our known level. So we don't have to call that 20 times. And this is the big one. Enchant clicked. Not going to need this because we're not actually putting them on anything yet. We're just going to need to add a create item. Now we're going to need to make some way to hold the data. Might already be fine the way it is. We'll have to look. So I just want to make sure this works. Looks fine. And this is not currently doing anything. That's fine. So we don't have a slot anymore. Why is that still trying to be accessed? Okay, so yeah, can't use that. If we're not practicing, we don't need this actually. Select an enchant table tier, not enough free slots. That doesn't happen anymore. And check set type again. This does not apply here. We'll have to add that to when we actually socket items. We do want the recipe though. To grab the ingredients. And then this is the main thing that we're changing here. Here actually. Enchant clicked when that's passed to the server. Everything else is working as intended, yes. Let's turn off our 1, 2, 3 debugs. And let's follow the rabbit hole to the server trying to actually create these. So again, we're not doing this. Table tier, slot requirements, not necessary. Where did we grab slot? We do want the enchant, I believe. Where is the slot? Okay, it was here, so we don't need that anymore. Set types, we don't need. We probably need the recipe though. And we want to check the ingredients. Again, we're not checking for set duplicates just yet. Remove resources. Not adding enchants to the item itself. This is where we create the socket. Add materials used, target update stats, update client, that's all good and fine. We'll have to add a little bit more of that to update the item that we're adding, but let's see. So we're server side on the player crafting script, and we want to basically client.player inventory. So yeah, we're actually going to need to do a check here first. Let's say way up here at the start. Select an enchant, table tier insufficient. Prior to that even, if we want to do client.player_inventory.get open slot. To find an empty inventory slot. And I believe this will return -1. So if find an empty inventory slot is equal to -1, then we need to go ahead and say inventory is full. Thank you for the like, Nick. Once again. So if we don't have anywhere to put the socket, we need to just cancel out. If we do have a place to put the socket, we're going to just do attempt to add, no, what is it? Add item. Now this is the only thing that we don't quite have set up yet, is an actual item. So these are going to go ahead and need to be we want to have different icons for the different sockets. So I think they're going to need to be their own items. Now, if we look at the item class, we've got a way for storing item enchants. So that's already there, but again, we want, if we just make a single item type called, socket, there's kind of like two different ways to do this. One, single socket item, in which case item details UI is going to need to differentiate based on the item enchant at position 0, or these should be A and B. An item for each socket, in which case we'd have to generate an item template for every enchant. In game, and I hit Control S by habit. So we could do either of these. We've already got icons for the enchant templates, like on the enchant skill tree. So we could just use those. That would look like you've got a skill icon in your inventory though. Or we could just have a single socket and have anything that tries to show an icon for the socket, such as the item details UI, have it actually go and find a specific icon for that socket. In that case, say a modder adds an enchant to the system. Hey, kitty. So if we just turn this into a method, whenever, I think 100% of the enchants are already set up as enchant templates. So, and I believe, well, we've got the enchants are all generated in one spot. Enchant template generator. This is all of the current enchants in game. We'd like to add more of these. And all this is doing is creating a scriptable object, just like our item templates. Like here. Like we've been doing recently with all of these. So we could make enchant templates in here by hand if we ever wanted to. Or we could let's see. Just trying to think of the easiest way to go about this. The icon is currently getting loaded by, it's probably icons, enchants. So they're all in here. So we could just make a different socket icon for each of these. That's probably the easiest way. And if we go to the actual game folder, where is mine? Doesn't auto-generate it, but it does look via the manager. External mod files, load mod enchants, mod files / enchants. This is set up for when we get workshop enchants working. So you can actually dump them in there, and assuming we've got icons in there as well, we don't have a sprite importer set up currently, but that is the plan. So I think that is the way to go. The other thing is, if we do this, we need to generate an item code for every socket. So if we're looking at our item It's got a list of item enchants. This just has a direct enchant code stored on it. I think that might actually be easier and better in the long run, is really the better way to say that than just easier. Item details UI will just, and I think we might already have a socket item set up as well. Let's see. Socket, strength imbued, ruby, etc. I was attempting to do that at one point, but does not exist at the moment. The current top in here is 329. Our item templates start at 500 and are actually already up to a decent amount. 670, I believe. I do have some 335s. Yeah, those are actually put in there, though. Oh, I haven't updated this, though. $335. Need to update that. That's dangerous. So let's add a socket here and go down that route for the moment. $336. And yeah, I want to hard code that because that's going to get used a lot. So we've got a socket. We're going to add a, let's see, client.playercrafting.get item. Or is it item database? Sorry. Get crafted item. We want a socket. And I don't actually want to add this just yet. New socket equals get the socket. We want to do the, actually, yeah, we're going to do, I think I'm going to do 0, 0, 0 here for now. And we don't need that, so we're just going to do this. I think. Nah, let's go ahead and add it here. So we want to do socket level tier rarity. And now what we're going to do on this new socket is we've got our enchants. And we want to add one here based on the new item enchant, current enchant, and again this will just do level. Yeah, we'll put it on both of these, tier and rarity. Like so. And then we're going to add that to the inventory. So, one thing we immediately want to do, well, let's see. So, we've got our enchant templates. These guys have a public sprite on them that was just flat picked up like so. Let's go ahead and add something like this. Enchant icon, and we'll do socket icon. And I'm curious if these... No, yeah, that should be good. I wonder if these are creating tiny memory leaks. It would be tiny if they are, but if you leave and you go back in, you leave and you go back in, you leave and you go back in, it might actually be... Let's look at the manager real quick just to confirm that. Setup. We're creating a new... Yeah. Peep-chan. I think it is that bar of soap he doesn't like. I had some bath salt that was this nice smell. I said I liked the smell, so my wife bought me some soap with that smell in it. My cat keeps trying to bury it. So anyway, skip to my 10 o'clock break, but I don't need a break at the moment. Hi, kitty. Trying to see if this gets cleared at some point. It gets reset when we reload here, but these are just checks. Contains add, new add, contains add for each. Get enchant. Yeah, we're not actually clearing this anywhere. But it's minor. Very minor. So anyway, we're adding an item. Let's just go ahead and try that. It should give us a unknown icon. Give us the question mark. But it should give us an item. And it will also show the enchant on the item. So really the main thing that we want to do is, in the event that there is an enchant, in the event that the item is a socket, we want it to handle the naming and some things a little bit different. So I'm going to, this section needs to be craft now, not enchant necessarily. Got some exceptions. Item not found, socket. Okay, it probably didn't give me anything there, nope. Item database 490. Item not found. Oh, okay, well, yeah. Yeah. You need to settle down, kid. Come here. Come here. Peep-chan. Come here. What are you doing? I'm going crazy all morning. What are you going crazy for all morning? Too much energy? Knocking stuff over, biting people. What are you doing? I could just add this here. I could make an item template for it. I think I would prefer to make an item template for it. let's go ahead and do that. Put it on the top here. Item template, where are you? Crafting, item template. Could have just copied one of those, whatever. Item code is socket. Item type is... Do I still have that? Socket. I do. So the name is going to be overridden whenever we're looking at it, but we'll just call it socket for now. No description, no sprite. Level tier rarity can be stacked if it's the same. Can be stored. Can be crafted. Let's do not known. Well, no, we don't need any of this. This is all going to be set up on our own tools, consumables, placement, loot, unlocking, skill trees. So this is all we really need. And let's call it socket. Just try that once more. So now I've got a socket with light on it. So in short, I just want to... Let's see, I don't think I need you. Don't think I need you. I'm just gonna do, let's see, I want to add kitties in front of the keyboard. I'll work around you. This is gonna be our icons. Here we want to have the socket icon. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm just going to add plus socket. Like that. And now I don't need you anymore. Let's see. Player crafting. This is working fine. I'm not actually going to need you anymore. I'm not going to need you anymore. And I'm also not going to need you anymore. What we want now is the item details UI. And this is the middle upper part of the inventory. When you're looking at something, it's going to... We also want player inventory, I suppose. Or is that just main UI? We'll get to that in a second. Let's do this first. So we've selected an item. We grab it. And then this is something we want to override. Get item icon. Guess we'll not put it there, we'll put it in here. This is under Sprite Manager. So we've got these stored here, actually. Get enchant icon. And that is a bit silly because these are already stored. Sorry, Katie, need the keyboard. I don't actually want this at all. Under any circumstances. Should not exist. Just not at all. What we do want, bothers me when it formats so funky like that. We're going to go to player script controller dot client dot. I want to get to the enchant template manager. Is that player crafting? Enchant template manager. Who calls you to set up, sir? Player inventory. All right. Template manager dot get enchant template based on the string. And if let's see, we want to do enchant template, and if template is equal to null, that is when we go ahead and return this guy as well. So I don't actually need that, but I mean, sure. Missing sprite. Otherwise, I want you to return template dot icon. And that's looking for the sprite, so that'll work just fine. So this will be get enchant icon. I'm just going to remove you. And again, you're silly. I don't need you. So I'm going to do that. And likewise, I'm going to go with... And why would I ever be passing the string around? I don't understand that, to be honest. Because this is what we actually work in, and that works fine. And I'm going to do the same thing here, but I'm going to do get enchant socket icon. And in this case, we are going to return the socket icon from now on. And again, we got rid of you completely. Don't need you. And now, do we have any problems here? No. So this is going to work fine in that case, but if item dot item is equal to socket, we're going to do some special code. Thanks for the follow, Cloud Wolf. What's happening? This will be our otherwise normal interaction. So we'll do this now is going to be sprite manager dot get enchant socket icon like that. And this is actually item dot no, we want let's see. Item dot enchantment 0 dot enchant like that. And let's see. There shouldn't be any case where that comes back 0. But we still should really put a check in there just to be safe. So if our item.enchantments.count is less than 1. We're just going to do that. Again, just to be safe. Shouldn't happen. Let's actually add a debug in there too, since we're working on this stuff right now and we might run into some problems. Debug log error. Socket enchants empty. And we always want to add the... Well, if it's empty, we wouldn't know. So, yeah. That's just going to be a big bummer if that goes off, but don't expect it to. And if it does, it'll just be some silly error we'll fix quick. So players don't run into that. So yeah, in the event of this being a socket, we're going to load that up. So just to test this out, well, and then let's do the title while we're here. This is all setting up the title here. So if it's a schematic special case, if it's a socket, we're going to have another special case. It's an else if. In which case we're still going to use this. Level, tier, and rarity. This is all adding on to T, right? Yeah. So we're not going to do this stuff, but we are going to ultimately do something like this, but we're going to use this as level, tier, and rarity plus item dot enchantments in position 0 dot enchant dot to string, and we're going to want to fix the item name. Actually, we could go straight to the item template, which is probably what we want to do, don't we? Yeah, we do. So we don't want to rely on that. We want to actually use this to, and we already grabbed the template up here once. No, I guess we just went, I mean, this guy made use of the same logic, but we're going to want to do it again here. So enchant template equals player script controller dot client dot player inventory dot template manager dot get enchant template item dot enchantments in position 0. Do we already have something doing that? Probably item template. Material template. Who else is calling template? Item template. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just call this enchant template. Hey Cloudwolf. If I didn't say that as soon as you followed. I see your chat now. What's happening? We now want to use the enchant name here. And I don't think I need a space. I'm pretty sure I've already, yeah, I put space on all of those. Should be good. And once again, just to be safe, let's do the same little check here. Just to be safe. Socket enchants empty item.enchantments.count, and this would actually be a double error, so we'll just add that to be a warning because it'll already happen up above. So if the count is less than 1, we want the title text to just be socket. That would be unfortunate, but might happen while we're debugging stuff here. And let's go ahead and compile that, and I can actually see, oh, we got some errors. Oh, that's why I had that in there, huh? Wait a second. Handle the parser, the sprite manager, get enchant icon. That's not really how we want to handle that, to be honest. We should be doing something more along the lines of, well, that's the thing, that we don't have a sprite importer yet. So let's see. Get my phone out of my pocket here. Well, I guess for that case, that does make sense. So I'll put that back into effect. But I'm actually going to primarily be using these guys. That should fix that up. That's actually not being used anywhere, but that's in the event of an INI file importing an enchant into the game in runtime via a mod file. Since we don't yet have a sprite importer, it's going to attempt to find one of the currently available sprites built into the game and use that. Failing that, it'll just add the missing sprite icon, just so if somebody made something, they have the option of using the currently available icons. So let's go ahead and create our miner light, and let's just leave him in our inventory from here on. And we see here level 0 tier 0 miner light. We didn't update the description, and we didn't add the socket yet. So all we need to do for that guy should be going over to our resources, icons, enchants, and this is miner light. Hey Jinxie Cat, thanks for the like. Just gonna add socket to the end of this for now, and that should actually give us the icon we're looking for. I don't really want to use these just in the inventory. Hola. Oh, Well, it's okay. So it's showing it up here as expected. Good, not too bad. A little cold. It might get a little sunnier later. I can see patches of blue sky, but it's behind the clouds right now. So this is the other one that we need to do. How are you? Update inventory. We're going to grab it. We're going to get the amount. We're going to update the sprite. Get item icon was not the way to do it. We want to do if item dot item is equal to socket, and failing that, we'll go ahead and let it do all of this. And let's add a little space in here. In this event, we're going to go to sprite manager dot get enchant socket icon, and it's going to want me to pass once again the enchant. Let's just go ahead and do item.enchantments.count is greater than 0. Item.enchantments 0.enchant. And tier and rarity are the same, so those should work fine. The description is also not getting updated in item details UI, which is probably under here. Description.text. So if item.item, hi kitty, is equal to socket, what are you doing? We want this to be a little different. Can't see the keyboard, kitty. Do you mind? No, you're going to step on the keyboard. And sit on my mouse. Item.socket, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. So in this event, we're going to set the description to actually be, and let's do the same check here. Item.enchantments.count is greater than 0. And we want to get description of item, not quite what we want to do. I need my mouse, kitty. We want to do this again. It's a bummer to be calling this like 3 times. But not really. It's not some amazingly difficult call that we're making. It's just always nice to not be doing the same thing more than once, but go ahead and do that, and we'll do enchant template.description, and maybe we should do like socket kind of thing. Let's see how that looks. So we should now have the main inventory showing the icon properly that we made here, and updating the description in item details to be prefixed with prefaced with socket. If this works, I think we can move on to the hard part. It's not hard, it's just going to take more time. So the icon works. Socket illuminates the area around you. I think we should add socket up here too. And we'll get rid of socket down there. Don't need this, but we do want it for the title, which we have going on right here. Yeah, I think socket should be at the front there. Socket plus T. And in this case, we're going to do socket here as well. Plus T plus the name. Okay. So, that is all working more or less as intended. The problem now is going to be putting those onto items. So I think we want to do, we're going to need a special socket interface. I think we want to access that via a socket button on the main UI, or no, item details UI. So we've got spawn buttons dealy a ways down here. Action buttons, that's what they're called. Generate action button. Place, use, craft, get seeds, all of that good stuff. Let's go ahead and use the generate action button stuff here. So I'll put it under seeds, spores, open. What else do we got? Fill and empty. Split is its own special thing there. If current inventory slot type is inventory and the item what all is socketable? How do we determine where we open up the socket button? How were we handling that in the that would be under item slot, I believe, what I'm thinking of. Inventory slot. We do a check here somewhere is what's it called? Equipment compatible, interactable compatible. So if it's a enchanting table, it has to be one of these. That's a bit lengthy. But that's pretty much what we need to do, I believe. So can we consolidate this? Into some kind of a public method. Let's do global methods. Let's add one for public static bool can be socketed. And we're going to want to pass in our item type, right? Like this. And if it's any one of those, we'll return true. Otherwise, we will return false. So you don't want to have to rewrite this code in multiple places if we ever need to change this in the future. So we'll make sure that it's only being in one place. So in this case, we're going to return new item. It's just like this. Return global methods dot can be socketed. Just like that. And we don't even need the break in that case. Should be good. Return false is the default, so failing that, it'll do that, same thing. And now we can use that here as well. This is socket for socketables. So if we're in the inventory and the item, let's see, we want to actually do global methods dot can be socketed item dot item type. Then we want to generate an action button for socket, and this is going to be a new type of button called socket equals 19 is good, right? Yeah. Socket. Hello? Socket. So, now if the item details UI gets sent a button request, well, let's see, are they calling those directly? Generate action button, main UI button, on pointer click, main UI button clicked, button type. So this goes straight back to the main UI. And we've got a whole bunch of them down here. For example, main UI button socket. Item details UI. Do we need to go to the item details UI? It's not really where things are going to happen. But it looks like that's where I'm handling the logic, so we can stick to that. Item details UI socket clicked. And we'll go back to the item details UI where we've got a bunch of these. Place clicked. Open clicked, fill clicked, split clicked. Why is there a round amount here? Are people actually using that? So that should be consolidated. That's also in global methods, but whatever. Same thing. So public void socket clicked. Now we want to do this kind of stuff. Make sure we've actually got something. And if we do, we're gonna need to go to a new type of interface. So let's just do a debug log here for now. Socket clicked. Give it a peek. Make sure we didn't break anything. And it's working as expected. And then we'll set up a little interface. There's other ways we could be doing this. There are other ways we could be doing this. Could be handled in the item details UI. Let's take a peek at that. Consider our options while we're checking on this. So I've got my socket here. Well, that did not show up. No, yeah, so we want, for example, if this guy's in our inventory, and we get the socket button, we click socket, and it does do socket clicked as expected. So, for example, if we pause here and we go and we look at the UI itself from this angle. Hi, kitty. Did you get some food? We've got kind of these green things in the way that would be nice if I could get rid of those. What are they? Post-process volumes? There we go. So, the stats are going all the way over here, possibly, huh? Like we could add socketable... I was thinking we could add like little socketable slots somewhere. In the event that this is equipment, like we did here with all of these, none of these are going to have any kind of options on them other than drop or socket. If we look at the details, the description, these guys are going all the way to the edge here. So this is kind of the only open space we've really got. These are using up all of this, and though generally they're not going to use up all that space, don't really want to cramp them up. So rather than try to cram something in here, I do think we want to be putting it over here. So when we click socket, it's going to open up a socket UI of sorts. So let's go into the main UI. Do I help people make games? I give advice when people ask for it. I answer questions when people ask them. I'm an active member of the Discord Unity developer community. Had a group of people private message me some questions. Like a small, I think there was like three of them. Wanted to ask my opinion on some things, and I answer questions in here pretty often. But this is where I always recommend people head to if they have any questions. Of course, if somebody asks something on stream, I'm not going to just shut them down, but tends to be my work hours, so I don't go into too much detail. First step, I want to turn off the loading UI. I want to turn on the inventory UI. And we've got a number of UIs over here, like the transmogrify, teleporter, etc. So I just really want to add something here, pretty simple. Let's see, who is the simplest? I'll just duplicate this for now. Turn you off, leave you alone. We don't want you. This is going to be the socket UI. And I think what we want to do is maybe something like, we want a maximum of 5 slots, so don't need these guys. We don't need instructions, decrease, or pickup. And I think we want to move all of these to something like 20. We can move this guy down lower than that, about 80. Oh, no. Lower than that. Let's see. 120 would be right below it, so let's give it a little bit of room. Let's go to 140. So we're doing jumps of 70. You can do minus 140 minus 70. It'll actually do the math for you right there in the inspector if you want. And I don't even know what it was at, so I'll just do minus 70 minus 70, and 280 minus 280 minus 70, like that. And there's no reason for this to not be as big as the UI goes, which looks like it's 620. And I think what we want here, this is just going to be sockets. I think we want to have a description next to each of these. Were you asking if I do freelance work or something like that, Cloudwolf? Maybe move that out just a little bit more. Turn the width down to 330 and up the height to 50. Maybe max of 60, 70 if it really needs it. And this will be oriented to the left. So this is going to be slot 0 description kind of thing. And I will make 4 more of these. And again, these are all going to be minus 70, minus 70, minus 70, and minus 70. So these will be no description. I don't want them to be bold. I don't want language text on them. Are they not bold? They look bold. I guess they're not. We do want them to best fit, and we want the max to be, I think, something more like 14-ish. And we're going to actually put the stats in there. So might need to spread this out in the future, which would be super easy. I'm not going to worry about it right now. We'll see how things work. So this is slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, and slot 4. So we're going to need a script for this guy. Call it the socket UI. And just for adding that, it's going to want to recompile. And we will add it to the game object. Meow. What's the matter? And let's open that up. So, hi kitty, what are you doing? You bored? Can't help you there. I want to just clean this up a little. I don't want to start or an update. Not gonna need you, might need you. Let's do a serialize field, which will make it available in the inspector. Let's see, slot 1. I'm not going to actually access the inventory slots themselves. This is just the, we're going to need UI, and this is going to be the image. I actually don't need these numbers for any of these, so these probably, let's see, I can hold Alt to expand all of that. I don't need, I guess I do want tier, but I don't need a mount on any of these guys. We will leave tier there, and rarity will be used, so we'll leave those as they are. So this is image, slot 1, let's do image equals null. So we've got 5 of these. Should we do 0? And likewise, we're going to want to have access. I could make this an array, which would make accessing things a little bit easier. So let's do that. Equals new image array with 5 elements in it. Dosa. That's not here, but here. Ohayou gozaimasu. This is going to be text array for our, let's see, slot tiers. We're also going to have slot descriptions. And we're also going to have slot rarities. Is all that we need. We could make them public, or since we're only going to actually be using them here, we can just do serialize field, which will give us a field here in the inspector of this guy. So I can pile these all in there. We could also go through them by code and pick them up when the game loads, which is generally how I actually like to do things personally. But, you know, whatever floats your boat. Rarities would be these guys. 9! 自分のそこで鼻かむ。Tiers would be these guys. Wife's got the day off, waking up at 11. She's probably been on her phone in bed for an hour. Hi, kitty. What are you doing? And last but not least, the descriptions. Whoops. That's why I named all of these separately, because I generally would pick them up by their name via code, but this works too. So now we've got references to all of them. So, we're probably going to want a public, we don't need a setup. We're going to want a public void refresh sort of thing. And let's see if the item details keeps, it's got its current inventory slot type. How about when we click the socket button here, that goes off. So first of all, we're going to need to make a public reference to this guy, and I don't think we need list here. That's what that reference would be for. So let's go to player interface, which is where we store references to everything. And we want socket UI. I like to keep everything in alphabetical order. And that is going to be located I've got a phone call from America. もしもし。あ、私です。はい。あ、お世話になってます。It's just you being. I get it. I've got a package on the way, I guess. I just wanted to make sure I was at home. 050. I'm not used to that. It was a weird phone number. Hmm. 080 would generally be cell phone. 050 must be the new overflow cell phone number or something. So socket UI is going to be main UI. This is under inventory UI, I believe. Please don't recompile. It's recompiling. But yeah, this is part of the inventory UI. So we want to go inventory UI slash socket UI. Right? Inventory UI, socket UI. Good. And we want to grab the script for the socket UI, like so. So now we've got a publicly accessible reference to that. So the item details UI can now say player script controller dot client dot player interface dot socket UI dot what did we call it? Refresh. And I'm going to pass into this my current slot. Let's see. I am getting a direct reference to the slot right here. So, oh, well, there's my package. So I'll be right back. There's this tea that my wife loves that... よかった。いや、映ってるよ、はっきりここに。ね。見えるかい? She's been drinking it for years, and they only sell it in like the actual leaves, just the the mix. And one time last year, just for like a month, they had them in packages. It's little tea bags. It was really useful. But then it was only there for like a month in the store. But I found them on Amazon, so I ordered a bunch. Anyway, so I can pass this directly as the slot itself, I believe. And that will actually be a direct reference to the slot itself. So... I think first I want to go ahead and do something like, whoops, turn the dude on, and we don't want to just directly do that. We probably want to do something like, how do we close? It clears my chat every time I change scenes there, huh? That's a bummer. Whatever. Probably want to be churning this kind of stuff off. I think I've got a method for that. Let's do a search for off. Update torch. Don't sit in front of the keyboard, please, kitty. Toggle tab UI. Well, we'll try to break it later and see what we need to fix. There's, that's where the facility UI and other things show up as well. Is all I'm worried about. But so, anyway, we're trying to churn this on. That's probably fine. Nothing knows how to turn it off yet. It's the only problem. So, for example, that's really could be a problem. Inventory. Let's at least go to where we toggle the tab UI here, and if we are closing everything, what's up, Art? How's it going? I don't have a direct reference to it here, so I'm going to want to go to player script controller client dot player interface dot socket UI dot game object dot set active to be false. And if we do close UI, likewise, I want to make sure that that is getting churned off, like so. Are you still going to work as normal? Like going into office? You guys wearing masks and stuff? I'm curious how that's being handled in corporate America. I don't have a real job, but wearing a mask is just normal here anyway. Always has been. Okay, so you work at home anyway, that's cool. So I'm going to pass the socket directly in. This is going to be an inventory slot called slot. And basically, first let's do a reset. And I'm going to go through and I have to get up and shower and get dressed, or I'm just a mess for the whole day. For reset, honestly, I just need to go through and I don't really need a reset, but yeah, I probably should. So, slot description, let's just start setting these up. For int I equals 0, I equals less than slot description dot count. Length in the event of arrays I plus plus. My shift key's been not working as much as I'd like it to. Slot description dot text equals nothing. Likewise, we're going to go through slot tiers. You know what, honestly, let's just do, let's go 1 through 5. And we can just do, all of these. Whoops. Slot tiers dot text is nothing. Slot rarities dot game object dot set active to false. And slot images dot I, not dot, dot image, what is it, sprite, is equal to player script controller dot sprite manager dot empty sprite, no, main UI dot empty sprite, like that. I don't think I had to wear dress pants last year. No, I probably did. We have Japanese do a lot of death ceremonies, death memorial services. So like 3 years after, 6 years after, 9 years after, and then I think 13 years after, something like that. So we have something. It's just, it's just a nuclear family for grandmas, grandpas, and stuff like that. This is giving me the actual sprite. I put 2 equals there, that's not good. So that'll just clear all of that. Now the thing that we want to do is if, and let's do, let's go ahead and turn them all off to, well, yeah. Let's do slot dot images I dot game object dot set active to false. Now I'm going to go through for int I equals 0, I equals less than. First, I guess we want to do a slot. If slot is equal to null, or slot dot item is equal to null. Actually, guess yeah, null, that works. Or slot dot item type shouldn't be able to get here, but we'll make sure. Global methods dot can be socketed like this. If it can't be socketed, any of that stuff goes off. We just want to reset and return. This is item.item type. Okay, so if we've passed all of that, we want to do slot.item.rarity. And there's probably some methods to double check this stuff that I've got somewhere. Let's see. If the rarity is 0, we're going to have 1. So let's do +1. And that works, right? Now let's see. If slot.item.enchantments.count is greater than what we're currently at, meaning there's 1 in the event of 0. Double hi from Goofy, how's it going? Slot item enchantments.count is greater than what we're currently at. We want to grab it. What is it? Item enchant. Enchant equals slot dot item dot enchantments at position I. Otherwise, we want to slot images I dot. Well, let's see. We already turned these off in reset, so I guess we don't need to do that. Just if we're here, we want to grab our enchant and we want to churn slot images I game object set active to true. So this will churn our slot on, and then we want to set all of this up. So now we're going for, let's see, sprite. We're probably going to want to get the enchant template, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Enchant template equals player script controller client dot player inventory dot enchant template manager get enchant template for enchant, the one we're holding, dot enchant, like so. And let's go ahead and add a safety check in here. If template is equal to null, then we want to do debug.log error. Enchant template not found for plus enchant.enchant, and we will continue on to the next one. After turning this one off. So no, yeah, we actually won't even turn it on in the first place, because we will never reach here in that event. But assuming we did, we're now going to use the enchant template dot socket icon. This only needs to be turned on if slot dot item dot enchant. What do we got? We already got the enchantment. If enchant, no, come on, enchant dot rank. I don't know why that's called rank. Let's change that to be, yeah, come on, that's rarity. That might mess things up though, because it's serializable, so let's not just change that willy-nilly. Johnny, is it intended that caves do not regenerate resources? That's a good idea. You've cleared the cave. Let's see. world encounter holder dot cleared. That'll stop that. I agree with that. So let's do that, and I'll add that to the list of we did that. Cleared caves will no longer spawn monsters. The resources themselves, though, I believe should respawn. You're just going to spawn them in like any other resource, and they're going to call harvestable, for example, or just harvestable object. And if they are going to look for loaded stats, yeah, it doesn't matter if they're in a cave or not. They will attempt to respawn. However, if respawn check, no, that's not it. If yeah, this is a little dangerous actually. World encounter manager equals null. We should be. This could cause some problems. And world encounter equals null. New stats, and then we are adding that in there properly, so that's fine. Loaded stats, death day, that looks all good and fine. So there was actually a little bit of a problem in there. Fix the possibility of respawning cave resources, adding rarity icons to the overworld map. And I agree with that idea too, that I already closed that up, didn't I? World encounter cave, this should, I agree, let's see, generate 2, decorate, at the bottom of which we are spawning monsters. So let's see, if game play mode does not equal, and then we actually want to add a second clause in here so that this guy is, if it's not cleared and game settings dot play mode does not equal, well, I guess not host, we've just not for play mode dot host, yeah, not host necessarily. I think only for dedicated servers is what I'm thinking. Should it just be multiplayer in general? That seems unintuitive to differentiate between host and dedicated server. So I think we'll just go straight to and application. No, yeah, so we want to just go game settings dot play mode does not equal multiplayer host. So if we are a client, we skip that entirely. Otherwise, if it's cleared and we are well, we can actually already assume that we... No, yeah. So if we're not a client, if we... Yeah, if it's single player, that'd be different. So if it's cleared, but we're a host, then we go ahead and do spawn. So if it's not cleared, or we're not a host, meaning we're in single player. I've confused myself. I can double check that. I haven't specifically tested to see if they are respawning properly, and I've confused myself with this logic. So if play mode is multiplayer, we're not the client, that means we're either single player or a host. And if we are not a host, and only if we are not cleared. So not a host, not cleared. If we are a host, we're going to spawn anyway. If we're not cleared yet, we're going to spawn anyway. Okay, so yeah, that should work. Cleared caves will no longer spawn monsters in single player. And that's actually it, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Fix that too. Okay, so if enchant.rank is greater than 0, we want to turn the rarity dude on, and we want to set the slot rarities i.sprite to equal player script controller.client. Well, we can go straight to main UI, I believe. Rare border. Here we go. Get rarity border based on the enchant.rank. Like that. And the tier is going to be enchant.tier, and the description is going, what's the matter with you, toString? The description is going to be the template dot description. Let's see if that works. I do want these to be actual inventory slots now, but I guess not necessarily, just when I click and drag. What's up, White Dragon? Luck is pretty strong. We'll probably have to make that more difficult, honestly. Meaning harder to get ingredients, because that's pretty powerful, but maybe not, you know. Very useful. unfortunately, don't think I have anything that is enchanted for me to look at. If I bring it out here and I click this, it's going to show nothing. That's incorrect. So let us see here. What are we missing? This is 5, so it should show us, let's see. Right, if we do have an enchant, it's going to show it. Otherwise, we want it to just show an empty dealy. Game object set active true. Slot images i.sprite template.socket icon. These have all been reset, so we can just turn it on and leave it at that. Right. Rarities is turned off. Good. So yeah, that should be fine. Now I'm thinking of some things here that if the count is greater than this, or slot.item.enchantments at this current position is equal to null, or slot.item.enchantments number I dot enchant is equal to enchant database.null. So when stuff gets serialized, sometimes it gets set to this by default. Put another bracket there. Yeah, I need to make a Goblin Caves are only on the beta, and they're only in places you haven't been to yet. And sometimes you need to travel, like even if you haven't physically been there, if it's loaded in around you before, it might have already rolled to see what's there. So like several, like 1 or 2 kilometers out from where you've ever been. But I need to make like a spreadsheet of like dungeon difficulty tiers and like the stuff that drops in them, that kind of stuff. So, I'm positive it's this, but is it showing it to me? Yeah, Socket UI 20. So let's see. Go ahead and close that down. If the slot.itemenchants.count is greater than I, and I guess is what we want here, huh? It does not equal null, or yeah, I think that's what we want. So if the slot.itemenchant.count is greater than I, if we're at 0 and it's actually 1, then it wants to go in and look at it. But before we actually even look at it, if it tries to look at it and it's null, or it's marked as null enchant, I think that is correct. So we're going to need to store empty enchants in some places. So if you've got like a legendary item with 5 slots available on it, and you drag it into the last slot, the way the current system is set up is that it's just a list, so it would add that to the top. But I think it's actually going to be important to keep those in order. So if somebody puts it in the 5th slot, it leaves it in the 5th slot, meaning it's going to want to add empty slots to 1 through 4 in that event. So if we open this up now, we've got 5 empty sockets. because this is a legendary boot that I'm wearing. Now, if I click and I drag on these guys, this is the tricky part. Could do like a right click maybe would be the easiest way to go. There is already some right click functionality on these guys apparently. What is that? They've got main UI button script on them maybe? Item slot script. Yeah, I need to implement inventory sort button, don't I? It's funny you would bring that up, John. My earliest iterations of Solace Crafting, that's actually how the game worked. Because I'm kind of against killing, you know, that word, destruction. All of the earth elementals had red eyes, and if you beat them up, their eyes would turn blue, and then they would stop fighting and not be targets anymore. But not kind of fell away from that, given that we're fighting goblins and demons and stuff now. Well, the problem is this interface. Do we click and we drag, and then it's like, do we know where we're clicking and dragging from, and where we're clicking and dragging to? Or do we do, if I do right click, I think that would actually be a lot easier for me, in that if the socket UI is open and you're right clicking on a socketable thing, it's going to try and just add it into the socket that's highest up. So if you are so inclined to reorganize them, you can just take them off and put them on manually. I'm sure people are going to probably try to click and drag, though. Maybe only offering right click would not be the nicest thing in the world. I could just add a little description here. Right click on sockets to add or remove them. Oh, you're talking about an inventory sort, White Dragon? That would actually be a lot more complicated to make it configurable. But like we've got with the Solace sorting, you know, I could have some different options here. So you can sort by color, sort by name, sort by distance. Those aren't changing, are they? That's not nice. Let's take a peek at that while I'm thinking about it, because I'm going to not remember that. Travel UI. Is it Solace Travel UI or just Travel UI? Just Travel UI. Travel row. I guess it's just Solace UI, huh? Travel is down here, I believe. Sort by. Refresh travel list. Sort. Sorting method. Just turning these all off regardless. Oh, and then, yeah, so this is incorrect. Sort color. Sort name. Sort distance. So turn them all off, and then only turn one of those on. That was easy. Fix the sort buttons in the Solace Travel UI, not graying on and off properly. Yeah, like if we just had some categories to go by like this, sort by quality, or sort by, that's tricky though, sort by, because you always want them to be sorted by quality. Well, maybe you want, yeah, because tier would come first, and then within a tier you'd want to go by rarity. Well, within tier you might want to go by level, and then go by rarity. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't have level, so it would default to just tier, then rarity. And maybe that's one sort option, and then there's a second sort option for type. So you could separate resources from armor. Would have to think about that a bit, because there's a few ways you could do that, but can you explain to me why that interests you, John? Because for me it was wanting to, preferring to not encourage murder, basically, to put it bluntly. You're out in the world, there's stuff that lives there, and you're not just running around killing everything. You're actually releasing the sort of darkness that has corrupted. That's what it was written initially, that you're sort of a light warrior and you're freeing the corruption from within the monsters and stuff that are there. Is how I was originally looking at it, but then there was the concept of loot. How do you get loot from something that you haven't destroyed, and some things? Yeah, that was my concept as well, is that it would feel better sort of personally and societally that you're actually doing something good rather than, like, say, hobo murder squad. Unless you're in like a demonic plane. But even then it's like, maybe they dissipate then or something rather than fall over and go, ugh. But, yeah. I will continue to consider that. Not something I can move on right at the moment, but I know what you're saying. Anyway, getting back to what we were talking about. We got that. So how do we want to deal with these? I'm gonna have to make these. Well, I've already got the item slot open here. So this is what these guys are. Inventory slot type. So you're going to need to be a new type called a socket. So I'm going to want to set all of those dudes to sockets. Up here. Guess we'll do a little setup method. And we're just going to loop through all of them. And we're going to grab, let's see, item slot equals slot images I dot get component item slot, and then we're going to do slot dot setup, and we're going to set it to be a socket number I, like that, and we want to call the setup method via our player interface startup bit there. Or probably actually doing that under multiplayer player client, where we initialize everything. Down here, player interface. Doesn't really matter where I put this. It's not interacting with other things. Let's just put it wherever the Solace setup is, which I'm not finding, so, you know, whatever. Just put it down here. Player interface dot in socket UI dot setup console message. Let's do socket UI setup. Close that down. So on begin drag, in the case that we are an inventory slot type of the type socket, let's see, if player script controller dot client dot player interface dot socket UI dot, that's not actually it. How do we grab the reference here? Need to grab the slot that we're actually working with, which is being passed from the item details UI directly to the socket UI. Let's go ahead and make that a bit public. Public inventory slot current slot equals null. Reset is going to set our current slot to equal null. I'm going to add a void on disable, and we're going to reset whenever that happens, which is whenever the main UI gets closed. So it's going to destroy our reference to any slot we might have been working with. We're also calling that prior to refresh, and we're now going to set our current slot to equal the slot being passed to us. We can now access that globally, socket UI.current slot. If it equals null, or let's see, let's go ahead and just grab it. Inventory slot equals this guy, and then if the slot is equal to null, or the slot dot item equals null, or the slot dot enchantments item dot enchantments dot count is less than slot number, and in this case 1 is going to be 0, so we want to do count minus 1. So if it's, yeah, or slot dot item, no, yeah, slot dot item dot enchantments at position slot number is equal to null, or one last one here, slot dot item dot enchantments slot number dot enchant is equal to enchants dot null. Good lord, it's lunchtime already. Let's see here. I don't think I have any food in my house, which is of course not true. There's always something to be had, but nothing particularly exciting. Hi again, Goofy. That's your 4th hi for today, I think. Maybe your 3rd. You'd like to say hi. Slot. So if any of those are true, we want to return. Otherwise, we're going to toggle drag and drop. I gotta say something. I know programming is not the most exciting, so I try to say it out loud. At least try to talk about what I'm doing. Toggle drag and drop. So this is on the main UI where the sprites actually get handled. If we're not already dragging, we're gonna go to here. No, if we are not already dragging, we're in here. But so yeah, we need to pass the sprite, which is going to be not here. Oh yeah, get image dot sprite. That's fair. Now the main UI is going to begin dragging if current slot type equals it's not. Otherwise, if we are already dragging and we have clicked on the inventory, we're going to try and attempt a swap. So we need some new logic in here. Swap slots. This is tricky, but this is how it works. We grab the slot that we're currently trying to drag and move, and grab the slot that we are trying to put it into, which is the inventory slot attempt swap method here. So we're going to grab the reference to the old slot, try to put it on the new slot. Basically, this is fine if we're going towards the inventory, but we're not actually swapping the slot itself, we're just swapping the socket. That's why this is a bit of a problem. So if we're trying to requesting slot dot reset, it's not going to work in this case. We just want to remove the enchant, which is why I'm kind of wanted to just do right clicking, but let's see if we Hmm? Sorry, I don't know what you're asking there. You can create a prefab in Unity, and then you just instantiate the prefab that's already got your scripts and your object, or your colliders and everything on it. You don't need to make an empty object and then add everything to it. But yeah, that's like super Unity 101. You'd better off following some tutorials like John suggests. Rather than go straight to a temp swap, let's see. If the current slot type how about if current slot type is equal to, you're not going to give me a choice there, inventory slot types. I hate it when it does this. Inventory slot types dot socket. This enum exists underneath this code, so if the code errors, it forgets how to show this to you. Oh, current slot number, that doesn't work either. Current slot type I don't mind being asked questions, but you're asking, Goofy's kind of always asking like day one questions, and it's like you really shouldn't. I mean, I can't, yeah, I don't mind at all, John. I can't hold your hand is kind of what it boils down to, and I hope, that's kind of not nice to say, but you're asking like the most basic questions, and which means you're going to have 700 questions after that questions, and I can't answer 700 questions for you. And I've repeatedly recommended that you ask your questions in Discord, because there's 10,000 people ready to answer your questions rather than trying to ask me while I'm trying to do my job. I don't mind a question here and there though, of course, but those are really basic. Anybody can answer those questions, including Google. So if we're a socket, we're not going to do that. We're going to have to do something new. I think I'm going to go straight to client.playerInterface.socket UI, and let's do so yeah, if we're currently dragging, I want to do remove socket, and I want to pass in the current slot number, and I also want to pass this guy. Like that. So what this is going to do is tell the socket UI public void remove socket, the C, and I'm going to add an int for the current slot and an int for the target slot. So we can assume that the current slot is with the item that we're working on. So let's see. Let's just debug it for now, and let's do debug log current slot, comma, we'll do a plus, comma, plus target slot. And I'm hoping, well, again, we need to find something that's enchanted first. How to do that? Let's see if I can't... let me see if I am on beta. I'm not. So let's switch to beta. Should only take a minute. Oh, that is a pretty big update because of all the goblin stuff, actually. So I'm going to load the same level I've got there. And this is prior to all my changes, so I should be able to... let's see. I'm going to enchant my chest piece with minor light, and let's go ahead and give it 3 of them. And I'll take it off, put it in my inventory, and we'll save that. Now I can load that in here after this finishes compiling.昼食べないとな。何食べるん？今からスープ行きます？あれ？ So now that I don't have a shirt on, I should be able to click socket here, and we find that I've got tier 0 light. I can't click on them per se, but I can click and drag, and we should find that it is attempting to do that. We've got 023, 123. Okay, so that's working more or less as expected. I don't think this works yet. We didn't set up any logic for that yet. So basically, yeah, the light increases your light output. Like it makes so at night or in caves you've got a brighter light. The model changes in PoE? When you put a different socket on it? Like if you zoom in on the character, you can actually see the sockets? I didn't know that. Player script controller client dot player inventory dot add item, and we want to do item database dot get crafted item. It's going to be a socket. Actually, yeah, we want to make this separately first. So we want to do item, new item equals item database equals item socket, and let's see, current slot. So if slot is equal, if current slot is equal to null, or current slot dot item. Current slot is an inventory slot, right? What's going on here? What are you so mad about? If current slot equals null or current slot dot... Yeah. Gets upset when too many errors. It's silly. Current... Did I spell it wrong? What's going on here? Current slot... Oh, I renamed it to int. Okay, no, that's not acceptable. Current slot number, target slot number. We'll say current slot equals null or current slot dot item is equal to null, or the current slot dot item dot enchants dot count is less than the current slot number. So if we're trying to grab 0, needs to be count -1. So it would be if there's trying to grab 0 and there's 1 on there, that would then switch to 0. And if 0 is less than the current slot number, then we can't grab one, so that's acceptable. Kitty has shown up to stand in front of the keyboard, try to sit on me. If any of this is true, and you're going to step on the keyboard too, aren't you? Burn to the mic. Any of this is true, I'm just going to return. Otherwise, we're going to create a new item based on the, it's going to be a socket. And let's go ahead and grab the current enchant. Item enchant equals current slot dot item dot enchantments at the current slot number. Like so. And we actually want a or current slot dot item dot enchants at current slot number. All the safety checks. Current slot number, if that equals null, or current slot. Hi Katie, what are you doing? Dot enchant is equal to null. It's basically impossible, but just to be safe. Return, otherwise we can assume that we're safe to grab it. Current slot number. So we've got the enchant on the item we're looking at. So we can now grab enchant.level, enchant.tier, and enchant.rank. And then we want to add to the new item .enchants.add a new item enchant that is going to be enchant.enchant with again enchant. Can you please auto-sense for me? Enchant.level, enchant.tier, and enchant.rank. So this will create a socket with the same enchant on it and add it to the player inventory. And I don't actually want to just do flat up add item. I want to try and put it where the player's dragging it. How do I do that? I don't remember. I think I need to actually grab the slot and try to put it in there. Count, 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 remove, attempt to add, remove item, find an empty slot, equip, no, right click, command, inventory. I think I just want to get inventory slot. And we should probably do that first actually. So let's do inventory slot, inventory slot equals player script controller.client.player inventory dot get inventory slot, and we do want an actual reference, not just a copy of it, in the inventory at target slot number. Now if, likewise, inventory slot dot item does not equal null, we can't just toss something on there, so we're going to have to return. That should be easy to track. We don't need to add a warning there. And again, we want to not just do that directly, but do inventory slot dot item becomes the new item, and inventory slot dot item amount is now going to be 1. This means that it's not going to let us stack these properly, but we'll get into that. Just want to get it working in this sense, first of all. Looked away from chat for a minute here. It's mean having to make new sprites for everything. Yeah, that is the current situation we are on. Wolfenstein game. Boats made of iron. I don't know about that. Lava melts iron. Lava melts steel. Lava melts just about everything. It would definitely have to be a magic boat. Chitin does not have any use yet, unfortunately. Chitin, fur, and feathers are intended to be used for new recipes, but I want to get this socket system working first so I can make some of those new recipes. Because I want to add sockets, not necessarily to the enchanting tree, but to tailoring and leatherworking and masonry. So we can have other things to socket, like armor patches and, like weapon upgrades and stuff. And so chitin will definitely probably be used in some of those armor enchantments or armor sockets, not necessarily enchantments. In the code, they are stored as enchant, but that's just how we call it. So I think this should work, and I just want to make sure that I player script controller client player inventory dot refresh kind of thing, or inventory needs updating equals true, like that. And we're also going to want to, we need to remove it from our current slot dot item dot enchantments in position current slot number. We want to set that to be null. And when the inventory needs updating, it's going to trigger here and update inventory. And when we do this, we also want to make sure that we trigger not only all of these slots, but if player script controller client player interface socket UI is active and enabled, we want to player interface socket UI refresh. And it wants us to input the slot that we're already working with when we call that. How about we have a non version of that where we do this comes up here, this guy's down here. When we pass a new one in, So this stuff gets reserved for up here, right? We don't actually call reset current slot equals slot. And these can all be renamed to current slot. Like so. Let's try and recompile that. I probably broke something, I feel like. We're not going to be using you, sir. We are using you. We are using you. We're not using you anymore. We are using the rest of these. It's almost 12:30. I got to get some lunch going some point here. I work generally at least 8 hours a day, sometimes a lot more. But that's been going on for years. I broke it. Okay, so hold on. One dude is calling this. That should be setting our current slot. Reset. Oh yeah, and then we didn't. We need to carry on with this method then in that event. I think this needs to go up here. Wife's getting hungry. I am the chef of the house, if you didn't know that. I was a cook for most of my 20s. Very much enjoy cooking, and you know, when that's your job for 8 years, you tend to get pretty decent at it. She's shy. So I'm looking at this, I'm clicking on socket. Oh, it's still not working. Well, I messed something up there, dang it. When I click socket, it's calling this, it's resetting. Okay, no, this needs to go. Yeah, I changed that to be slot. Let me just make sure that this works, and then I'm gonna have to go to lunch here. Have to. It's a terrible, terrible thing. I have to go to lunch. I studied Unity after work, every day for like 5 years. That was like the darkest time of my life, for various reasons. I worked for a really bad company and some other things. And so one day it just clicked. I was like, I got to do something else. And I knew somebody that I went to high school with that published a game on Steam. And there's another guy that I went to high school with called Adam Ray that is now a pretty successful comedian. So it was like those two like grew up in the same environment as me, but were finding success in ways that I just didn't think was possible for myself. And so I was like, okay, no, I can do this. And something switched in my head, and every day I was doing Unity for probably 3 hours a day after work or more. That was like every day for like at least 2 years. And then I started actually thinking about how can I actually make a game, not just learning. And that was like 2014, 15, 16 when I actually started designing and trying to make Solace Crafting into something. But yeah. Well, we got some problems, but we also got some success. Socket UI refresh. Object reference not set to an object at 39. Yeah. So we do want it to be churning on if there is an enchant there. So we know that the enchantment's count is greater, but you can't go... What are we getting? We're getting a object reference. I need to move these down to different lines so we can see. Current slot dot item. We're not messing with the item. Current slot dot item enchantments. Current slot equals null. Something went wrong there. Update inventory refresh gets called post removal of what should have been in slot 0. We just set it to null though. We didn't actually remove it. So then we're trying to grab it. Current slot dot item enchantments dot count is greater than I. This is true. And current slot dot item enchantments at position I does not equal null. If it does equal null, we're going to already exit out of this logic. If it's not null, we're going to try and grab it, right? But let's move these onto different lines to see who is causing problems. Unintuitive response from Unity there, but it's always your own fault with programming. Only does what it tells you. I don't have bad eyesight. My eyesight has been the same since I was like 23. I wear glasses for driving, and sometimes I wear these Blu-ray. These aren't prescription, these are just Blu-ray reduction glasses. Yeah, magic is definitely stronger, no doubt about it, mathematically, but you're also way weaker, so you can get one shot by stuff, but it all depends on how difficult a zone you're going into, what you're fighting with. So, still 39. I'm not sure if it's just putting this all on one line because that's where the if starts though. Current slot. Iyo. Tsukuru yo. Oh, arigato. Well, this isn't erroring though, so the current slot dot item is still there. Yeah, this isn't enough logic here, is it? When we just want to refresh, we can't just assume. We still need to recall the reset. So let's go ahead and let's remove this, is really what we need. And on disable, we're going to set current slot to equal null specifically. And then reset. And when we call refresh here, we're still going to reset. And we'll put that there too, but in this case we're also going to add this stuff in here. Don't think that fixes our real problem though. I did archery in college for a while. It was really fun. Not what you guys are talking about, but still true. Socket, wife agreed to make lunch for me, so okay, there, it's working now. So we did successfully remove it. We've put it back to a socket in our inventory, which is cool. And we should be able to do a second one, for example. Now we just need to be able to put them back on. So in that case, we're back at the main UI. Grabby grab. Where is it? Down at the bottom here, I think. Select slot. Right click slot. Toggle. Drag and drop. Here we go. So if we are dragging and the current slot type equals socket. 도우시다. 사기분. 그래 갈까? It's my wife in the kitchen. Screams and panic. What is it that you do again, Art? I forget. There's lots of martial arts in the world. So not if our current slot type is socket. If our slot type is socket, we want to go to add socket. She has the heat way too high. Always turns the fire on the max. 고기 짜요? Sounds like the oil's gonna blow up. Taekwondo. I thought you said Taekwondo, yeah. I studied karate, which is actually pronounced karate, but we're English speakers, whatever. So I'm going to add socket from the, let's see. In this event, we want to pass in slot number first, I think, and move to current slot number. So it's more or less the same thing down here. We're going to instead do add socket. And we're passing in the target slot number. And this is the current slot number. So if current slot is null, current slot, current slot, current slot. So this is now target slot number. Current slot, target slot number. Let's see, and if that doesn't actually matter. Current slot dot item. In this case, we just need to do the rarity check. So if current slot equals to null, or current slot item is equal to null, or current slot dot rarity dot item dot rarity is less than the target slot number minus 1. No, target slot would be 0. Let's see, current slot rarity plus 1. So if we're at 0, we should have 1 slot, and our target slot's going to be 0. No, that should be fine. If we're at 0 and we're trying to go to 1, then that's a problem. Okay, so that's fine like that. So we're going to grab a reference to the inventory slot that we are coming from, which is our current slot number. And if it is null, we're going to return. That shouldn't be possible, but just in case. And then we're going to grab the item. Let's see. No, we don't need to grab the enchant. What do we need to do? We need to... We're going to have to do a check for swapping. And then we're going to actually need to swap. I was a sushi chef for like 4 years actually, so I can make sushi. Japanese people don't make sushi in their houses, and they very rarely actually eat sushi. It's a very common misconception. We had sushi this week actually. We like to go to cheap sushi. But Japanese people don't actually eat sushi very often. That's not actually how things work. I was a maki master because I made food for Americans. That was before I moved to Japan. So I could make a California roll from scratch, you know, with nothing in front of me, and cut it and put it on a plate and give it to a customer in less than 30 seconds. I could do a roll every 30 seconds. And I mean, I'm talking quality here too. I'm not talking about messy rice everywhere. Clean cut, level, roll. I know what I was doing. Where I live, pasta is actually very common. We're known nationally as the pasta city. We have a lot of pasta and pizza joints where I live. If you go to like my wife's parents' house, though, we do a lot of hot pots where it's just like, you know, it's like a broth, and then we'll put veggies and meat in it and have like a citrus ponzu sauce that you'll then like grab some veggies and meat into your own bowl and eat that. Maybe a side of rice. We do a lot of, when we do eat fish, it's generally, I mean, her mom will make just cooked fish somewhat commonly, but we do hand rolls. They're called temaki, where you it's like a little cone sushi, so you can grab your own ingredients, kind of like a Japanese burrito. Put your own, so they'll all be eating fish and like shellfish and stuff raw with some veggies, and I'll always cook up some thin cut beef, and I'll put my own veggies and beef in there. But modern Japanese people eat probably like 40% Western food, you know, bread and I mean, McDonald's is, of course, a huge thing over here, and it's not very different from American McDonald's. We don't eat McDonald's, but there's a McDonald's at a really bad stoplight not far from our house. There's always people trying to get in there at lunchtime, causing the whole intersection to back up. It's really bad. I like Kentucky Fried Chicken, filet sandwiches, stuff like that. I like chicken. I eat a lot of chicken. My wife's probably put chicken in the... She's making me some pasta. I'm inclined to go and look at her cooking and critique it and make her angry. But I'll try and focus here for another 5 minutes. No, the dollar is actually terrible right now. I think it's less than even. Like I make money in America, and then I send my salary to myself in Japan. And it used to be, like last year, like if I sent myself $2,000, I'd actually get like $2,140 kind of thing, because of the dollar was stronger than the yen. But right now I think the yen's actually stronger. So it's a bummer. Yeah, look at that. It's gone down. I mean, it's like the lowest it's ever been in forever. So if I send myself $2,000, I actually only get an equivalent of like $1,950 right now. $1,960. Because the yen is just like pennies. That's the only difference. 100 yen is like $1. That's the only difference between the dollar and the yen. A yen is worth 1 penny. They don't have dollars. They only have yen. So 100 yen is $1. So if we're not checking for swapping, let's just assume I can go ahead and put it on there. And I'm going to do current slot dot item dot enchantments at the target slot number equals, and this is going to be the new... Let's see, we can do inventory slot dot item dot enchantments. No, yeah, 0. We can just copy that over, and then we can do current slot dot item. We can actually do reset. No, you don't want me to do that. Player script controller client. And here's where we're putting it into the new one. We want to get rid of that, and we want to do inventory needs updating. This is not what we want. We don't need any of that, actually. Right? Current slot, no, we don't want to reset. This is inventory slot dot reset. So we're going to add the enchant. So this is the only actual swap that we need. I can hear my wife pouring the pasta into bowls. I'm going to have to go here in just a minute. Let's see if we can't compile this and get it to work. Inventory slot, get inventory slot reference. Okay. Current slot, item enchant. Put it on there. Reset the old one. It should work. Start it up and try. I'm going to head to lunch here for an hour. I believe currency exchange of that manner is illegal internationally. So I'm not going to do that. But you could do that. I'm pretty sure that's illegal for like every country. But so I'm going to take it off. And we got an error. but I did get the item. Something went wrong, but can I put it back? I can. Cool. So that's working more or less. We got some errors. I'll figure them out, sort them out, and then we're going to have to do for the case of when we're actually swapping things. So we'll get into that when I get back. I'm going to go have myself some pasta. And thanks for everybody stopping by. Didn't see KZ. I was hoping he'd show up so I could apologize for disappearing yesterday. I got a migraine yesterday and said I'd be back after lunch, and then I never was. Sorry for that. Hope to see you again. But thanks for everybody that stopped by. Good ideas. Made some changes, and we will continue when I get back. Hope to see you guys.